Having a high-paid job? No chance. Investing? No chance. Side hustle? No chance. There's basically no chance for you to make a lot of money in Europe, especially in Germany. Today I'm going to talk about why it is so difficult to make a lot of money in Europe, even if you have a high-paying job, even if you invest diligently, and even you have a side hustle. I will use my home country, Germany, as an example, as it is very similar to many Northern and Western European countries. If this is the first time you're here, my name is Eric. I'm originally from Hong Kong but based in Germany. I've been investing since I was 18 years old for more than 20 years. Yeah, I know, a bit younger, right? Anyway, I invest in stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs, warrants, options, even watches. You name it. In this channel, I want to share with you my experience of making money with investing money and also with a lot of business ideas, plus cultural shocks as an Asian living in Europe. So remember to subscribe so that you're not going to miss out. So why it is so difficult to make a lot of money in Europe even though you have a high-paying job or investing or even have a side hustle? Well, when you get a job in Germany, the salary sounds very high, very exciting, until you know the difference between brutto and netto. So basically the differences between gross salary and net salary that actually goes into your pocket. There's a big difference between brutto, the gross salary, and netto, the net salary. Gross salary is the salary you have agreed with your employer. For example, 100,000 euros. Sounds good per year, right? Not bad. But when you calculate, what you get into your pocket is reducing the tax and social insurances, which is quite a big part, a huge difference. Okay, so where does this difference come from between gross salary and net salary? First, of course, is the income tax. The income tax can go up to 45%. Yes, 45. However, don't need to scare yet, because it doesn't charge you at the lowest level of income. So there are progressive tax, which means a certain amount of income, you pay a certain amount of percentage of tax. So the 45% of tax is only at the highest income. So for this case, the threshold is 277,000 euros per year. Only for the income beyond this threshold that you need to pay 45%. But in general, I would say the percentage is roughly 20 to 30%, depending on your income, of course. The second tax is technically not a tax. It's called the solidarity surcharge. It's basically 5.5% of the tax you're going to pay, either income tax or investment tax. For example, investment tax is 25%, with the surcharge of 5.5% is around 26 to 27% in total. So this surcharge is used to pay for the unification of East and West Germany. But hold on. Wasn't it in 1991? It's like 34 years ago. But anyway, whenever you have income, no one wants to cancel the tax rate. Except the taxpayers, but the government is not going to budge. And then there are the mandatory insurances, which takes up the biggest portion, I would say. First of all, the health insurance, which is mandatory. If you have public insurance, it is 7 to 8% of your pay. And then you have pension, which is 9.3%, unemployment insurance, 1.3%, and then there's 2.3% of nursing care insurance. And all of the insurances I mentioned, including health insurance, the employer also need to pay the same amount on top of what they pay you the salary, which is quite a lot. Okay, so let's go through an example if someone earns 100,000 euros per year, which is pretty good. You go through this calculation, you have health insurance, there's pension, there's care insurance, there's unemployment insurances, and then you do all those calculations plus of course the solidarity surcharge on your income tax. After all this, guess how much you can earn in your pocket? 58,000 euros. Yes, if you earn 100,000 euros, you can get only 58,000 euros into your own pockets, which is less than 60% of your gross income. What do you think about such a big difference between the gross salaries and the net salaries? For me, from Hong Kong, this is outrageous. Our maximum rate is 17%. Plus, we only have 5% of pension funds contribution per month instead of, so high. You have social insurances that cost 20% in Germany. How about your country? Leave me in a comment below. Especially in the US, I'm pretty sure it's totally different. Okay, now we know that it is difficult to get rich with a high salary in Germany or in Europe in general. How about with investing and also in side hustles? Like many Western countries, in investment, you need to pay a capital gain tax, which is 25% in Germany, plus, as I mentioned, there's the solidarity surcharge on top, which is 5.5% of the tax. So roughly is 26.3% in total. And this is applicable to dividends, to interest paid by the banks, or investment like trading stocks or ETFs. How about your country? It's quite a new thing for me from Hong Kong because we don't have capital gain tax at all. So it's much simpler, and of course we save a lot of money. Let's have a real life example. If you earn 1,000 euros in stock trading, before you touch a cent, you already lost 262.5 euros to the tax authorities. Because the banks and the brokers here, they deduct the tax automatically before the payment actually made to you. So imagine, in other countries, you can still have those money for maybe a few months more or even 1 year before you pay the tax to reinvest money. But in this case, you have no chance. Immediately, when the payment comes out, it goes directly to the tax bureau, which is not ideal. How about investing in real estate? So this is similar to other income tax topics. Basically, you have different tax rates for different amount of money you've made. So the highest tax rate is 45% for whatever you earn beyond 277,000 euros. In most cases, if you sell a flat and you earn several 100,000 euros or even 1 or 2 million euros, most of the tax I would say would fall within the 45% range, which is pretty high. However, there's a good caveat. It is if you sell it after 10 years, then it is tax-free for income tax. And then there are other taxes like property transfer tax, which range from 3.5% to 6.5% depending on your state. And then there's the annual property tax, which really depends on the value of your property and your state. So imagine if you sell a flat for 300,000 euros, which is very cheap to be honest. Still, you need to upfront pay 19,500 euros of tax just for the transfer. We're not even talking about the income tax or other annual taxes. How about making money with your side hustles or small business? First of all, there's the Gewerbesteuer, which is the business tax, ranging from 3.5% to 14%, depending on where you are and what kind of business you do. Secondly, there's the value-added tax, VAT, 19%. But the good thing is that you can pass on to your customers. Last but not least, the profits you need to pay income tax similar to the income tax I mentioned before, up to 45% depending on which part of the income. And the worst part is that you first of all need to pay social insurances for the employee part, which you remember around 20% that I mentioned, plus another 20% as an employer. So this is pretty crazy. Imagine if you earn 10,000 euros per year on a side hustle, you pay already 4,000 euros for whatever contributions and taxes, which is not very profitable. So why it is so difficult to make a lot of money in Germany and in Europe in general, even if you have a high paying job, if you invest nicely and also have a side hustle? Well, it's pretty obvious, the tax and social insurances. Of course, there's the good thing about social security with unemployment, pension and also accidents. But given the high tax and high social insurances, there's very little incentive for people to work too hard because you can't make too much money even with side hustle or investing. So this would be a big problem. But I'm going to talk about how to make money in my other videos, of course. Leave me in the comments below, what do you think about this kind of system? Do you think the US system is better or the European system is better? Remember to subscribe. This will encourage me to make more and better videos for you guys. See you next time.